we may have differences politically and stuff, but we're all Americans. And if we like riding motorcycles, we got way more in common than we don't.
Perfect. Good to see you. I'm doing excellent.
Yeah.
So this is the EricSwannRacing.com podcast. I think it's number 45. Today I have John Casebeer, the owner and operator of Motool. And we had a relationship now for I think over a year, and we've been selling some slackers all over the world.
Yeah, you got it. And thanks for the support, man.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to help myself. So tell me a little bit about your background, your story. I want to hear from you and how you got into all this.
Well, I grew up, I'm a little bit older. I grew up, I got my first bike, a dirt bike in like 1979, a little XR75. And then I got obsessed with motocross and all that, got heavy into motocross and off-road in the 80s. And then was actually going to start road racing in the mid 80s, but my dad pulled the plug. David Bailey was one of my big heroes in the 80s, and he ended up getting paralyzed in 86. That was the year I graduated from high school. And my parents didn't like it at all. So my dad pulled the plug financially. I was going to technical school for computer electronics. So I ended up just having to quit racing, which was kind of a hard pill to swallow. But so I went in, I started working in computer electronics, became a network engineer, started my own IT business, all that stuff. Really wasn't on the bikes for about 26 years. And in the meantime, played in punk bands, toured a lot. That was kind of what I replaced racing with, was playing in bands. So I did that and then ran my companies. And man, in 2012, in 2010, I just quit doing the music thing, just too many losers and just, I had to depend on too many other people that were flakes. So I quit doing that, and I needed to get back in shape. So I started riding bikes again, and that led me into developing Slacker because I needed a tool to set my bike up. And then here we are as everything with my life, I become obsessed with it, and it becomes everything, Well,
that's how you get anywhere, right? You got to be obsessed with it, or at least have a healthy relationship to it.
Yeah, I don't know if any of my relationship with this is healthy, but obsessed, I would say, is a good word. That would make sense. So I've always got to have something off the beaten path. I'm just not a 9-to-5 kind of dude. I kind of do it all day long. So this has actually really fit in well because it kind of took my technical side of my IT business with the fun and creative side of my bands and put it all together where I can actually make money and still have fun and not have to work with a bunch of stiff dicks,
Exactly. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Much more fun in the motorcycle racing world.
Absolutely. Being in power sports, motorsports, now you can do mountain bikes and all kinds of chained vehicles, snowmobiles, ATVs.
Very fun. And I'm getting ready to go into some other areas, which should be, more work on the plate, but that's always good, man. It's better than sitting around wondering what the next move is.
Yeah. So Motool, is it just you, or you have a team of people?
No, it's just me. I'm actually in my apartment. This is, I was in my brother's basement for 3.5 years, and then I just moved out. I've been in this apartment for a year. So I'm still trying to get on my feet. I was actually doing really good last year. I got the V4 out, and sales were crazy all the way through November, and then I had that shipment that got lost in that largest maritime loss of cargo in history, where they didn't lose the boat. So that kind of kicked me hard. That's been a hard thing. That was all about it, because the day I found out was the day we were supposed to do this 3 months ago.
Right. Yeah, and that was a huge fiasco, and that was all over the news. It was a container ship lost, I don't know the number, hundreds of containers in a
1,800. Yeah, 1,800 of the 40-foot containers overboard.
Wow. So do they do a dive search for that and rescue all that stuff? I mean, it could be miles deep at that point in the ocean.
They don't. It's really, once it goes over, it's gone. They were like 1,500 miles northwest of Hawaii. So like that stuff's just gone. I talked to a guy that that sails that channel all the time that bought a slacker, and he said he'd keep an eye out for it. But really, they just advised the other ships to be prepared that there was a lot of 40-foot containers bobbing around out there that night, and they should be advised. Otherwise, like if my slacker washes up on shore in wherever in Russia and there's some like a environmental impact or something, then I'm responsible for that.
Okay. So
Yeah,
it's a two-time
the
hit.
boat really has I've found the boat has very little responsibilities in any of this. If things go wrong, you're just kind of out of luck, man.
Man, that's a tough situation. It's hopefully you never have to go through that again.
No, I don't. I think the odds of it happening again are just almost nothing. But I mean, I had a guy that ripped me off for 31 grand about in 2017, and same deal, just about put me out of business. And I didn't think anything that bad could happen again. And this is way more money, way more money.
Yeah, you know, I read a story of there was a contamination years and years ago in upper Michigan of they thought it was mushrooms, I think, that were contaminated. So this guy was churning out pizzas and had to waste $60,000 worth of pizzas. They called it the Great Pizza Funeral, I think, of whatever year it was. And it's a massive loss. It's hard to come back from those kind of things.
It's really brutal financially. Like I'm making it, I'm going to survive, but usually it's hard for me to get one order, you know, financially, because that comes out of my pocket. I don't have any big lines of credit. So now what I had to do was that order just disappeared. I was out of stock for 2 months and then had to buy another whole order to replace it. And now that I haven't found out, and I still don't know if I lost it. It's still like the boat's supposed to sail in a week and I don't know if I lost my cargo. So I just don't, it's just wild. So since I don't know if I lost it, I'm at the point where I need to place now another order. And so now I'm going to be out like 3 orders of money all stretched out at once instead of one. And it's just brutal, man. I'm barely going to make the pinch. I'll probably make it, but man, it's been a real challenge. I mean, the odds of something like that happening again, hopefully are 1 in a bazillion. But at this point, you know, after this has happened, that's really a reality check, man. You know, you cruise along, everything's good, happy days in America, and all of a sudden you get kicked, and you just have to realize it's a big world, and really nobody owes you anything. It was a bad weather event. Nobody screwed you, and you will get screwed probably in the end, but nobody did anything. You can't do anything about it. It's really makes you feel small. And being a part of a container load, tiny little company, Motool, an 800 square foot apartment, when you're on a boat with Apple, you know, and Honda and guys like that, like I'm just feeling very small and humbled at this point.
In that perspective of it all. And so there's no insurance you can go after and claim for anything?
You know, it's a long story. And so there's a couple scenarios. One of them, there's an old school maritime law called general average. And what happens is it was made so if a boat got into trouble and say the crew needed to throw all our stuff off the boat to save the crew's life for their safety, that they could do that. And then what would happen is anybody whose stuff didn't get thrown overboard, all those people then are gonna make those guys whole, not the boat, but the other people with cargo on the boat are all gonna put money together to pay for their lost cargo. Well, I don't know how that applies to this because literally the boat just encountered a parametric rolling and stuff flew off of it. They didn't throw anything off the deck to save their lives. I'm glad the crew was okay, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know how it applies, but there's a possibility. I don't think they're going to do this, but there was a real possibility they would declare general average. Then what would happen is if my stuff survived, they would actually put a lien on my stuff. And I would owe like 10 or 15 grand to get my stuff out to pay for the guys that lost theirs. But if you lost yours, it's like 2 years to go through that process. So your money's gone for 2 years. The other thing is then the boat itself like is responsible to get your stuff there. I can do a claim against those guys. That's probably what's going to happen. I've got a company I'm working with right now, but in that's another year or two big lawsuit and investigation situation. The boat's still in Kobe, Japan. It's just not good. So the only way around that is insurance. The insurance, once and this is probably why they haven't told me my stuff is at the bottom of the ocean, is because then I can't file a claim in any regard, or an insurance company. Nobody can do anything until they say it's physically gone. So I'm just, what happened is the guy that's booked these shipments for me for the last 8 years, he didn't want to spend the extra, he wanted to save me $158 and didn't get the insurance on it.
Oh no.
Yeah, so what would happen is once they said, hey, Johnny, your stuff's at the bottom of the Pacific, tough. At that point, I would go to my insurance and they would pay me and they would deal with all this disaster in Kobe, right? But instead, I'm the guy that gets to deal with the disaster in Kobe. I probably will maybe get 2/3 of the money in a couple years. That's like probably the best case scenario. Now, there's a small chance that my stuff is in one of the 6 stacks that's still on the boat, but they won't tell us what's in those stacks. So I don't know if it's in there or not. And it's just excruciating for 3 months to wait and then find out you lost all that money is just absurd. So I just had to go into full-on rescue mode, and I've been for 3 months full-on rescue mode. I'm sleeping about 3 or 4 hours a night. I'm just building out the app, working on new products, and just trying to keep my head, stay focused on what I'm going to be doing, assuming that I survive, and that's the plan, But honestly, it couldn't have gone any worse. It went from the business is better than ever, like literally in one day, to, oh my God, I might just lose it all. And then all these hopes, maybe they'll find it next week, right? And I'm here 3 months later, still wondering if it got lost, and all the best case scenarios have passed. And the last 2 scenarios are I lost it and was out of stock for 2 months, or I didn't lose it and was out of stock for 2 months. And that's where I'm at now. The last 2 out of like hundreds of possibilities that your mind could run through, at 3 in the of maybe what could really be happening with that boat.
It's a big question mark.
It's crazy.
And man, they were just flying off the shelf. I think version 2 is when I got into it, and they were just selling like hotcakes.
Yeah, they've been good, man. I've done real good with that tool. I had some resistance from street guys originally, and then some of the suspension tuners. I think they thought it would take away, because like motocross, people don't charge you to set your sag. And a lot of the street guys do, and that's fine. But I think they saw that as taking away money from them. But I sent one to Tim Calhoun. He was running that group Speed Mob. I don't know if you know Tim at all. And it was a street speed distributor. And I sent one to him, and he gave one to Dave Moss and asked him to check it out if he liked it. And Dave just absolutely loved it. And so instantly I became great friends with Dave Moss. And now, like, he schools me on this stuff, loves the product and stuff. He still uses a tape measure himself, and he's kind of awkward with Slacker, but he absolutely loves it and recommends it to all his guys, because then they can make sure that their bike's balanced and stuff. And so even if you don't have a set number like in motocross, like for me, if you go out and you spend all day, you throwing in springs and different oil levels and testing, right? And you get this sweet setup for button willow, and then you go away and you hit some other tracks and you come back, like, wouldn't you at least want to start where you were? And I know a lot of people just put the same preload on the shock, but man, at the rear axle, that could be 10, 15 millimeter difference at quarter turn. Like, it makes a big difference at the shock. That's a terrible place to take that measurement. So what I found is actually the street guys actually really get it now and love it. And that's awesome to see. It took me a couple years, but guys like you and Dave and like Bobby Lou with Motorrev in Vegas have been awesome, and they get the product, and you guys understand it and like it. And so thank you. Because like for me, being out of the moto world, like a lot of the people, it was hard to get the time of day. Even guys that said they could sell it wouldn't sell it.
Yeah, well, I think you reached out to me at first. You started following me on Instagram. I was like, let me look into this product. Let me look at this a little bit more. And
I'm sure I was ribbing you on there. I liked your style, and I was like, this guy seems like he probably would understand the product, man.
Yeah, and it turned out to be a great relationship, and it's still going.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, I hope to.
How's everything going with the SR, man? It's probably a good thing you guys are online with all the COVID madness.
Yeah, you know, if we had a storefront, we would not be surviving very well.
Yeah.
Because first of all, nobody's coming into stores very often, and you know, you just need such a high volume of sales to justify that. So I'm out of my house. I'm in my basement right now too, in the podcast
Nice.
area,
I
and
like.
I have 7 rows of shelving that I started with. So I started selling all kinds of books, CDs, DVDs, old clothing, just things I had around the house.
Yep.
I morphed into doing consignment for friends and family and local businesses, and now I'm doing mostly drop shipping. So selling
Nice.
Motool suspension setup tools and all kinds of like driven racing parts, and M4 performance exhaust are some of my main brands that I sell. Moto D Racing, I just interviewed him. Um,
Cool.
so all kinds of brands. My biggest problem right now is just getting everything online with accurate inventory the first
Yeah.
time on the right marketplace.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a
Brutal.
big pain because, you know, fortunately, brands like yours are super simple because you only have a certain number of products. Other brands might have 1,000 or, you know, even more than that. So it takes a
Yeah.
while to get all the inventory syncing properly, instead of just a yes, no. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I could relate. That's a lot of stuff to keep track of. An inventory is not fun. That's one thing I do not like is inventory.
it's very tedious, a lot of Excel spreadsheets, but I think the end goal could be very good. So I'm still motivated. It's just you gotta be patient.
Yeah, no, that's good. That I mean, every business has a pain point. Like there's parts of this business I love and parts that are brutal. Even like the writing the software. Like I enjoy some of that, but there's days where it's pulling teeth, man. You know, and you just don't want to do that at all that day.
Yeah, or
But
something's not working. You just gotta take a step back and say, you can't just throw your hands up and walk away all the time. You gotta, you know, get into it and figure out what the problem is. You gotta start with a small thing if you're getting frustrated or whatever it is.
yeah, and I know from experience, the real world sucks. Like working for somebody else and being there on their schedule and doing things their way, man, it just demoralizes me, man. It's just not. It works for a lot of people. I sometimes wish I could be that way, but it just doesn't. So you
You
sound
know,
like
yeah.
probably more
I'm
of that style, and it's
I'm
good that you can find something and work be involved in something that you love, because like when you're young it's easy to think, oh, I could be the pro racer and only see that side of it and not understand all the other parts of the industry where you could be successful and actually have some longevity, you know, and have a business that'll go past 28 years old, you know.
Sure, exactly. You know, for me, I'm still working a full-time job, unfortunately, for now.
Yeah.
It's what I need to do to help grow my business while I'm doing the
It'll motivate
podcast.
you.
And it's working. And one day I do want to do my business full time. That's the goal. Do that full time and race. But yeah, I'm kind of happy in a way that I ran out of money with racing and I couldn't get sponsorship to work because although I had 20 sponsors, as you know, it's not enough many times.
Yeah.
Many of them are parts or services, which are very helpful, or discounts, but they don't always write $50,000 checks here and there. That's
No.
very rare to find that. So I'm happy that I'm out of it right now because it made me take a step back and actually build something, build a business that, you know, there's 10-year veteran pros all the time who lose a sponsor and they're out, they're done because they don't have a business to back them up. They don't have something else, you
And
know,
you're
on the
smart to
side.
see that. I see a lot of riders that really think, in fact, I had this conversation with a guy that was basically like, well, you guys are nothing without us. And I'm all, well, wait a minute, what are you talking about? That's your main sponsor could drop you, no problem. They got thousands of other riders, you know, but vice versa, big deal. Like it would hurt you bad, you know. And I think it's a two-way street for sure. Everybody brings something, but I think a lot of riders, it's easy when you're young to think that you're bringing more to the table than you are, not see it as a two-way thing. And so it's good that you see that and that you're making some other deals, because you could probably get back into racing on a level where you really enjoy it and there's not the pressure of it making it be your money thing. That's like with for me, music was that way. We never tried to get on a big label or do any of that stuff because we really were doing it because we enjoyed it, and we never got into the pressure. So we got to just do it how we wanted to do it. So there's some beauty in that.
Yeah, for sure. I think I definitely want to get back into it. no question there. But I think in maybe 2 or 3 years, I'll be able to do track days and racing again, at least at a regional, national level. I don't know how I'll be able to fund a Moto America season yet, but we'll see how the business progresses in that time.
You can have your logo on the bike, man. Ride it off.
Exactly, that's the idea. Yeah, I want to do endurance racing. I want to do sprint racing. I want to do all of it.
Nice. Yeah, you could be your own title sponsor, man. That could be sweet.
That's the idea, you know. And then they can't fire you if you're paying for it. You have to ride.
Yeah. I think that sounds like the ultimate deal. Is just you fork off and then bring it all back together, and then it'll be excellent. Then you'll have it all done, man.
There you go. And so, are you still riding a lot? You said you're pretty into bikes and dirt bikes and all that. Are you still doing that?
I do. I don't get a ride much these days. I get it. Well, I live in Portland, Oregon right now, and the winters just like they're not conducive to motocross up here, and so that's kind of rough. I do get out and ride my mountain bike to get some exercise, but honestly, I'm kind of where you're at. I'm just 52 years old, and I'm on the grind right now. If I've got another product I'm working on getting out, and hopefully next spring, I'm gonna move back down to Southern Cal, and then I'll be at all my tracks with all my people again. And this has been I'm not from Portland. I just moved up here to get help from my brother while I was getting this going. So I'm in a similar place that I'm just going to try to get this going and then get back to riding when I get down there. This summer, I should have some time, and I got to do a bunch of testing. So it's going to force me to ride. But the last couple of years, it's been pretty much all like code and then dealing with major international maritime disasters and stuff.
It takes up a lot of time, I can imagine.
It's brutal. On this business, it's at a point now where it really takes, like, I go all the time on, I mean, I don't like get up and desperately work 12 hours, but I definitely work 12 hours a day, and I go through the weekends because I'm trying to write, I'm actually rewriting that whole app in a new language,
Okay.
which I'm real excited about, but it's throws a couple hundred extra hours into my schedule. And I still got to ship and run everything and develop new products and do all the other things, you know? So it's a full-time job plus, but it's good. I don't have enough money to spend to pay anybody else to do things, you know, and that'll come hopefully in 2 years. I think I'll be at a place where I can actually start writing myself a paycheck and start getting some help. And it's fully manageable until then, you know, but until then, I'm just really don't have much time or money to go riding unless it's like a business thing, unless it's like work.
Right. Yeah, I understand that
Great thing to
completely.
work. Yeah, I just haven't had a reason to until I get some more of the app done, and I'm waiting on my last samples of this product. In fact, I don't know, I don't know, this is something I developed for motocross, but I don't know if this is something like street dudes would be interested in. Like, just because I know there's a lot more onboard electronics, you get a lot more feedback from the onboard, the ECU and all that stuff. But I made this and it's a little, probably hard to see, but it's a little Bluetooth hour meter.
Okay.
So it's just like an hour meter that you'd put on a dirt bike, and it'll tell you that it's gone 3.5 hours, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not wireless. I don't like those ones because they go on the vibration of the frame, and I've seen them show up in the plastic with hours on them from vibrating in the shipping containers.
Right.
So I just don't think they're accurate. And the other thing is I have this actually, it'll work as a tack, which is normal, but it'll also actually count your total cycles. So really what's going to happen is whenever you get done riding, whenever you want to update like your notebook where you'd write down your hours and what maintenance you did, you're just going to hit the sync button. It's going to sync to your phone, and then that thing's going to run all the hours and tell you like when you need to do stuff. So when to change the air filter, oil, whatever, it's going to count those hours. And it's also going to tell you your total cycles for that period. So you can see how many cycles per hour basically. And then over time, I'm going to develop an algorithm that'll start to be able to tell you that, you know, you're heavy-handed, you're always on it or not, because there's different levels of how much you're in it, whether you're like you or a guy riding a scooter around, or if it's a generator or a motorcycle, whatever. So I don't know if it's a product that'd be interesting to street guys. I'm going to just start with it in moto, but it'll actually come up and just bump you and tell you, hey, you need to do this and that. And then you could just build all your own service intervals. Like I want to check my fork oil and check my shot, get it serviced every 22 hours. Like just
Yeah,
put
you could
that in
have defaults in there, or then you could change them if you wanted them more frequently, or yeah,
I'm
that seems
actually,
very interesting because I think a lot of people, myself included, are not super mechanical.
yep,
And so they maybe forget about certain things or don't know the frequency of the change that they're supposed to do. Most riders have no idea they're supposed to even get new fork oil if they're
yeah,
racing, you know, or even every 10 years on a street bike, you should at least flush it out, get some new oil in there. It goes bad, just like your oil in your engine.
yep, for sure. And that's kind of where I started, was wanting to be able to tell you when to service your suspension, obviously, because that's what I'm all about. But it led me to here. And I said, well, that's a perfect way because you can see all the hours on the bike and then just tell them. And even whether you want to do the service or a shop, who cares really? If it just tells you, hey, knucklehead, you need to get your valves checked, man, you know,
Right.
and then call the dude or take it out to the shop and check them, you know, like I would check them. I know a lot of guys that would just take it to the shop, but, and it'll basically be, you can just add your own interval. So if you just want to know every 4 hours of riding, you could do that. Or if you want to, you know, you could just make it however you want. I started out with the manufacturer recommendations and all that, but it, you know, a lot of that stuff people would not want. I figured I'd just make it a la carte. You can just add air filter every 40 hours from your manual and then go for it, you know? So we'll see how it does, but I'm kind of interested to see if there's anything like that in the street world that you get.
I've never heard of anything like that. You know, there's a lot of new electronics coming out with the new technology because now this is Bluetooth, so it goes to your phone, right?
Yep, exactly.
So it's a new product category that didn't really exist before.
Yeah, I don't think it does. I wasn't able to get a patent because that similar ideas in cars, you know, with like the fancy Mercedes, all that. There's similar things where that'll give certain data to the shop, you know, but nothing like this. And then I'm going to make it, even if Yamaha decides to do that on their bikes, on their ECU, I'm just still, mine will work on anything with a spark plug, man. 2-stroke, 4-stroke, generator. I don't care, man. Your old go-kart from 1986, you know, like you can stick that thing on there, your well pump, you know, like I just see like so many places that you could stick that thing on. It'd be nice to just go boom and have it tell you that, you know, so.
Just need some attachments and you're good to go.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. I was supposed to be, I'm waiting on samples right now. I was supposed to be releasing that this fall, but I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it financially now. I think it's going to be next spring or something, unless a miracle happens. But man, after the last year, I don't count on anything. If you've got still legs and arms in the morning, it's a good day. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, for sure. So no investors for you? You're just bootstrapping it as you go?
I am. I may end up on Shark Tank with this thing at some point. There's potential there just to try to get access to other markets and into other places, because it's taken me so long to figure this industry out, you know.
Yeah.
But no, I've always gone away from it. I just, until it's really running and put money in my pocket, I don't want to tell somebody else to put money in their pocket, and I don't like the pressure. And that would kind of go back to that I'm a stubborn and independent individual. And I just like, I'm not like a control freak. But when it comes to my life, yeah, I am. I like my stuff being my way. And I like having the vision and saying this thing's going to do it this way. And if it's not doing anything today, then it's not doing anything today.
Yeah,
So,
you know, there's times where I thought I needed an investment for my business, but at the same time, I probably would have gone out and bought some things I really didn't need. And, you
yep,
know, wasted a little bit of money here and there because I thought I needed this or that. And if you don't have the money, you find a way to make it without that, you know, most of the time. So
that's how I had to do it. And I've spent 7 years, you know, you can see, man, I'm going to go, but I was just starting to go, but I got kicked anyway. So an investor really would have dragged me down. It's better to, you know, the only one that I'm putting any risk out there is me and my money. and that really puts more on me, and I get up earlier and I sleep less and it's a lot more stressful, but man, does it make this thing go. It keeps it running even when the $31,000 goes out the window. It keeps running because you're passionate about it, and you don't have the investor to back you up with money or any of that. And I think that brings unnecessary pressure. I think in a band, I would look at that as what I didn't want with having a big record label, is that I wouldn't want them to have a say in what my process was creatively, like in writing the music or how I presented it.
Yeah. There
So,
seems like there could be a fairy tale situation where everything works out perfectly and it just helps sales. But it seems like most of the time, it sounds like it doesn't work that way.
yeah, well, I can say, like, when I got ripped off, that guy stole that money from me a couple years ago, 3 years ago. I mean, $31,000, it's gone. I got a default judgment against him, but he disappeared. He spent all that money in his other lawsuits. And so I never saw the money. Best thing that ever happened to my business, ever. And I, like, hands down, because what happened is the owner of the factory got a hold of me and said, hey, what happened to that Michael guy? He never paid me and I got your product. And I'm all, oh, thank God there's actually product at least.
Yeah.
That's a start, because that's like $300,000 worth of stuff on the dock in China. That's a start. I just don't have any money to pay for it because I sent it all to this Michael dude. So he said, well, just send me 10 grand and I'll send you everything and then I'll give you 6 months to pay it. I said, great. Well, now this guy does all my engineering. He did this black box. He's the guy that added the Bluetooth to the slacker, dude. He's my right-hand man in China, and the dude's amazing. He delivered my slacker V4, the Bluetooth samples and black box in person to Portland, Oregon. Him and his wife and his kid that goes to school in Nebraska. Super nice, amazing family. I know the guy, like, great, and he's got my back. Just did like, I would have died. I would have already been out of business because it would have taken 6 months to get these new slackers. He did them in 2 months for me.
Oh, wow. Expedited them.
Yeah. So, and that's a big deal. This is like not some big Foxconn factory. It's a small mom and pop factory. And like, I work with them because I trust them and they treat their people good,
Yeah.
So he went to town and got all this stuff done for me. So it's the best thing that ever happened to me, honestly. And I think if I can survive this, it's going to be the same thing. I'll be bigger, better, stronger, and I'll know more, and I'll know what other things to look out for. Sometimes you don't realize things are you just don't realize that little edge is going to get you on the inside of that turn until you hit that thing and it sends you, or you didn't even see it. And then all of a sudden you're, oh man, I didn't know that was there.
Yep.
And you're yard saled at that point. So it's all learning, and I'm all about learning. I love learning new stuff, and sometimes I don't, but typically I like learning and growing and getting better at things. So it'll make me better. I know it'll make me better at the business, and probably a better person to just realize, like, sit back and be grateful for what you got and just be humbled in the situation that, you're not some big hot cock, you're just a little tiny dude in a big world with a bunch of other people, man, and
Yeah.
when the ocean sloshes around, you get sloshed with it, man. You're not immune to any of that stuff.
Right. I was impressed. You have your Motool advertised in the AMA magazines and all over the giveaway stuff. And I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah. I try to get it out there. They're so easy to deal with. Like, they've been great with me. I don't have to throw a bunch of money out or anything. They just, I just do my AMA business membership and I work with them and do what I can to help them. But generally they'll just like get me in on those sweepstakes and stuff like that to help promote the product. And they really like it. My first, I got a review from them in 2017, and I mean, all of a sudden my sales just went like this and I couldn't figure it out. And my friend Jason Gerald that owns Phoenix Handlebars now, he's like, hey man, look at this. And he sent me the review in the AMA magazine, and I was like, oh, that's what it is. And that was the only time I got a review that I could go, that's what's causing the sales to go up or down.
There's a noticeable bump.
Oh man, my sales doubled that month. Like,
wow.
Like for about 2 months, they went up by 30-40%. It was crazy, just noticeable. So yeah, they've been really good. And I I just tried it lately. I don't have much ads running because I had to pull all my ad campaigns down, and I like even all my digital everything. I pulled all my advertising down for 2 months and just had to just cut the lifeline and say, well, I don't know, because I don't know if I'm going to survive. And then I just turned back up some of my my Google AdWords stuff just to have a presence out there, because a lot of my, I got other people with my products competing with me on some of that, but I just had to cut it all off and say, screw it. And luckily, like people like you and all my dealers kept ordering stuff for 2 months, when it was back ordered with no hope in sight. Everybody knew that my boat probably lost my crap in the ocean, and everybody still kept ordering and pre-ordering on the website. Customers would just order and say, yeah, I'll wait 2 months. And I was like, that's unbelievable. I'm a spaz. If I order something, I want it yesterday, man.
Oh, yeah. And
that's why I go to the local shop. I'm like, I need this now.
Right. And then I was having some problems with my inventory. I couldn't turn it off. I kept having orders.
Yeah, that was, I kept feeling bad. I'd get that thing at like 11:30 at night, and I'd be all, oh, damn it.
There's another one.
Well, then I'd send you the email, well, do you think they want to wait or whatever? No, I felt bad. But I felt bad because really it's me, because I'm usually not out of stock. In fact, I have little burps here and there, but I had just conquered that, and December was going to be the first time where I didn't have one day without stock. Yeah. And that turned into 2 months. So I felt bad because I didn't have the product for you. I'm like, damn it, man, that sucks, man. Like I was letting you down. So it's fine. It wasn't bugging me like I was getting mad at you. I just was bummed I didn't have the product for you.
Yeah, it was an issue with Amazon's ordering system. I guess I pressed a button one day that said migrate your sales from US to Canada. And when it did that, it took it off of my inventory management hub, and it just did it separately on Amazon. So that was a mistake on my part. But yeah, I think that's all fixed now, and I can't wait until we get some more of them. Yeah,
that platform can be brutal. And when you get in a pinch, man, it's hard to get a hold of somebody or somebody that
you can't. Yeah.
No, it's you just gotta dig through that site. You'll eventually figure it out, but. And when I started on Amazon, like in 2012 or 13, oh man, you had to put your product in, you had to do an Excel spreadsheet and then save it as tab delimited and then upload it into there. And then it'd be, I didn't like something in there. And you'd be, oh, damn it. You'd have to do that like 6 times and then get it right. And then you'd save that, on a backed up hard drive to make sure you had a template. So next time you could get it right. And then you add a product and be, not this again, man. It was grim. It's better for sure, but that platform is just such a jungle, man.
Yeah, I kind of have to use eBay and Amazon and these other platforms right now because EricSwannRacing.com doesn't have 30 million visitors a month yet. Exactly. So I go to where the people already are. But I got burned one time on Amazon. I was selling Amazon Mexico a lot and Canada, and the exchange rates weren't converting. So I was selling them for a way different price than it should have been. It wasn't your product, it was another product, but I caught that and I was like, gotta stop that one.
Yeah, no worries. That if it was mine, I'd get it anyway. That stuff happens. I just had a dude in the UK that was I just had some listed because I didn't have a distributor over there, like K-Tech's distributing them over there now. But so I just had some on Amazon in the UK, so I could sell. A couple people wanted them over there. So I listed them at 120 pounds, which was north of 159.99, our price here. Yeah. Well, over there, they also have that 20% VAT, which is built in there. So really the price, and I just worked this out with K-Tech, is that it should be like 167 pounds about by the time that you get all that figured in there, right? So I was selling these things. Well, this other guy wanted to distribute, and he's all, hey, there's this guy on eBay selling them for, less than this other dealer there. And I said, all right. And I went in and I looked, I couldn't figure it out. Well, he was going on Amazon and he listed them there, and then he was buying them as gifts and then shipping them because I was 47 pounds less. Yeah. And I'm all, what the hell is that? So I just put my price to 167.50 or whatever K-Tech's was.
Fix the problem.
Yeah, there's people do some weird stuff, but you got to do that stuff while you're growing. Like you just got to do what you got to do. I don't like, honestly, I hate Amazon. I don't like Amazon. I hope Bezos doesn't hear that because he'll crush me.
Yeah.
I don't really like it. I don't like that just that one company, instead of it being 1,000 little companies where there's 1,000 business owners and different people have different ideas and ethics and pay scales and you know, there's competition. It's just one pyramid of dudes. And I hate having to sell in there, but I have to, you know, it's just something I got to do to survive. If I didn't, I wouldn't.
You know, I definitely do find myself buying some things on Amazon because it's so
Yep.
convenient, right? Because
Yeah.
they have it. You don't have to leave your house, and you get a free box that I get to ship my orders in.
Yep.
But yeah, I totally get the monopoly. They're killing small
I do
businesses.
too. It's a weird thing, and it's a similar thing to the Walmart thing where you like it's not necessarily a good thing that's happening, that race to the bottom in price and wages and stuff, but you still end up participating, you know.
Yeah.
But because you have to. The reason people shop at Walmart is they have to. If they could afford to go get a nice thing at wherever they wanted, they would go wherever they wanted, you know. So it's just it's the way the system works, unfortunately.
It's
But
yeah.
I'm in there as just a matter of that's the way the game works. I'm playing the game, so I got to have some product on there. But I don't tend to compete with people either. I'm not doing any of the seller fulfilled prime. I don't put stock into Amazon warehouses. I just do the minimum, and some of it's just so that I can make sure that you guys aren't like jacking the price down on me or something, you know, like
Yeah.
that's part of my Amazon strategy. I just don't sell a lot of stuff on there anyway, but if it gives you an avenue to build your business to where you can then go on your own, then do it, man. Like,
Yeah,
there's
I
no
mean,
reason
I think
to
there's
be-
definitely an opportunity there because not everybody's on there and it is a pain in the ass to use. So if you can wade through all the bullshit, you can actually, sell some product on there.
Yeah, there's a guy, Bent Lever up in Vancouver, Washington. That guy sells as much on Amazon of those slackers as Rocky Mountain or Motorsport or any of the big dudes. He just knows how to work that system. He knows that platform. I think he's like the biggest seller of fly racing gear, like on Amazon, period.
Oh, wow.
And it's just this little shop across the river right here, Bent Lever Motorsports, this guy Jason, but he kills it on Amazon. So it's all what you got to do, and it can be a great tool as long as you understand it for what it is and don't just go all in like this is the way we do things. As long as you understand like the good and the evil of it, and you just use use it for your own good, then I think that's, what do you do these days? It's brutal. It's expensive. There's these guys have a huge advantage over us. And I mean, the amount of gear, like Amazon probably owns 10 or 20 billion dollars worth of just network equipment and servers, you know?
Oh, it's amazing. The scale of everything. They think they have like 800,000 employees.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people. Just imagine the payroll on 800,000 people.
Yeah. And most of the work's being all done by computers and robots and stuff. A lot of the back end of that thing. So it would have way more employees if it was 1985, it would be probably 3 million employees or something.
Yeah, and I guess at the root, I'm just jealous because I would love to have the business that made me a billionaire. But what I'm trying to do right now is build ESR, and I'm focusing on motorsports and racing parts because that's what I know and love. But I want to also branch out and not only focus on those things. I mean, this is a few years down the road. Once I have everything on the plate right now done, I want to do snow sports. I want to do electronics, maybe like audio equipment or musical equipment, because I don't want to have a slow season. You can get to a point where if I have these 10,000 items already online, why stop? You just keep going, go into different brands, different product lines, expand like Amazon is. They're getting into this and that and pharmacy and like everything. So
no, I agree. And I think that once you have a good, once you understand the platform, the business, and have a marketing plan and you know what you're doing, and you can get in and like get some money out of some markets, and you know what you're doing. why wouldn't you apply that to other products, you know?
Yeah.
Like for me, what I'm learning is product development, software development, manufacturing, you know, that's all real brutally slow and just tenuous process, you know, but it's a different business model than that. But for you, it's about getting in, moving and shaking, having a lot of items and knowing how to move them, you know? So if you can do that with anything else, why wouldn't you do it? If you enjoy it, especially music, stuff like that. If I could do something in music, if I had a product idea, I would do it for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I've tried to streamline my process, and I've created I think it's an 80-page manual now from start to finish on every single part, everything that I've written down, how to create a listing, how to do it the right way for each
Oh, nice.
platform. You know, so right now I have basically two full-time workers. I have one in India and one as a family member. So you know, I was going to recommend to you. I'm not sure what tasks you could automate or you could delegate to someone else, but I've used a service called We Are VAs, and they're out of India, and you
Yeah,
can hire someone that can do any task that requires a computer, that you don't have to physically be there. So, you know, I've detailed how to do everything, and he's just making new product listings all day.
yeah,
And so, you know, I still have to go through and sort of proofread what he's done. He's not quite there yet to do it fully autonomously, but the goal is to be, you know, him just working on his own and making new listings all day. And that's what he does all day, you know, so it's just continuously up to 100 new listings per day.
nice. That's kind of cool too, because it actually is making you have to make an actual, you know, have an actual manual that says here's how you do things. Like that's hard to do when you're small, but as you get bigger, you got to have that stuff. The employee hand manual, all that says how you do stuff, why you do it. So that's good to have anyway. Even if you went away from that model and had a dude in your new, you know, 40,000 square foot warehouse, then you just hand him that book instead of that guy, and he does it. So
Right.
that's a
And
good
you
thing.
know, I used to have for a little while, I had a physical employee here who would help me ship orders and create listings, product listings here. But I
Yeah,
found it's like half the cost to pay someone in India versus
yeah,
physically in Michigan, because you got to pay them taxes and all that. Um, so this is, you know, the way of the future. This is what big businesses like Ford and GM do. They hire from other countries because they don't have to pay taxes and pay them a
yeah.
lower wage.
Yeah, and a lot of it for a startup guys, for guys like GM, it's just kind of greed. It's kind of dickish. For a small business, it's just life.
There's
It's
no
like
other way I could do it.
survival. Yeah,
Yeah.
you just, you know, that's when I started. I got some pushback about manufacturing in Asia, and you know now it's ridiculous. The guy that makes my stuff is like a friend of mine. It's such a ridiculous argument, but I used to just get under my skin because the Americans just didn't want to do the work, man. They wouldn't take it on unless I would commit to $500,000 a year worth of business, or they just said they didn't want to take a risk, you know. And I got a bunch of that crap, and people would talk smack on their iPhone about getting something manufactured in China. And I said, listen, and I had this conversation with my ex-girlfriend who was looking at getting her bags made in Asia as opposed to here. And I said, are you trying to get things manufactured in America, or are you trying to build a business? What are you trying to do? I'm trying to build a business. Okay, well then throw that other crap out. Here's the conversation. This is the price you're going to get. We got to look at these things. These are the sources. You know, we're not even going to discuss this manufacturing and in America thing, because it's not the point. If that's your point, the business won't survive. Your cost for a slacker would be like $237 or something, you know, because it would have been outrageously expensive. And they wanted me to buy more product than I sell retail in a year. I don't even touch $500,000.
Yeah.
And they want me to buy that much at my cost. That would,
Yeah.
you know, there'd be a ton of slackers, man. So it's unbelievable. But as a small business, you got to do that. And as you get bigger, then you can start having more ethics about some of that things and say, I'm just not going to support that, or I don't like that Facebook thing or whatever. Then you can start doing that. But till you get there, man, do what you got to do to survive, unless it involves like screwing over an old lady or something bad. that you're not going to be able to deal with, you know.
Yeah.
But generally, otherwise, using some of these things, it's not a bad thing at all. I just think some of those big businesses just they run from taxes and everything, no matter what, and even though they could fully afford it, you know, those guys have way too much money at the top, man.
Sure. You know, there'd just be no way I can afford a full-time worker. You know,
No,
40 hours a week is just not possible. Plus taxes.
no, maybe one day you could,
Not
and
now anyway. Yeah.
yeah, and you'll do it. You'll do the right thing when you get there. But for now, you just got to keep the blinders on and just ignore some of that crap and just keep on those platforms and keep selling and build it. And then when you can make those moves and not hurt your business, then make them. And until then, do what you got to do to keep this thing ticking, man.
Yeah, and this has been a great marketing exercise, you know, posting these all the time. And I
Yep.
post these to Instagram TV. I post them to YouTube. It goes to Anchor. And then from Anchor is an audio platform that'll use Apple Podcasts. So iTunes, it's on iTunes, Spotify, I think maybe Pandora, Stitcher, maybe Discord. It's on a bunch of different audio platforms, which is pretty cool to be on there.
Yeah.
And just trying to network with people. You never know who you'll talk to or what you'll learn. And just like you talking to your new manufacturing partner, maybe I'll get a ride or something, or I'll get a new vendor, or maybe some sales from doing this.
Yeah, you got it. No, there's no doubt. And you obviously put in a lot of work, and that's what it takes. That's not the only thing it takes. Obviously, you have to have skill and good ideas and some other things, but the hard work is key, because without that, you'll get nowhere, man. You know, you got to get out and get your word in all those places, get the audio podcasts out, and get your fingers in all those cracks and bug all those people. Otherwise, it gets quiet. And you can actually get a lot of earned media that way, where you don't have to spend money. Because I could get the word out pretty quick about my products, but man, is it expensive. You could spend $100 grand a year in advertising, and people would hardly even notice your ad was in a couple magazines. Like, it's brutal.
So trying to create some sort of a voice that I can say things and people listen would be nice. I don't know if people are listening now, but
yeah, I think it's good, and they get to know a little bit more about the industry and what's going on, like that boats get thrashed and things sink to the bottom of the ocean, and there's consequences for that, you know. I think that's all real interesting stuff that you don't see on the surface, you know, when you're at a Moto America race or something. All that back into the industry, that's like real interesting to me. I know, I would assume that it would be for other people too. Like fans, I think, would really be interested to know some of the back end stuff. So
yeah, just talking to racers. You know, I talked to Brandon Cretu, and I was just posting that one right before I walked over here. He's an O'Valley bike not a manufacturer, but he's a distributor for the US. And so those are the mini bikes that they're using for Moto America, those cups. He's selling those bikes in the States now. So I'm happy to talk with people like that and promote the sport. When I was really young, I can't even remember the brand that it was, but there was some off-brand Chinese mini bike. It was blue. It was probably a pocket bike at the time, but my mom said, "Oh, you're not buying that." They never wanted me to have a bike, and I never bought it. I never got a mini bike. But if there was maybe an O'Valley, maybe it would have been different.
Yeah, exactly, man.
So
No, that's pretty cool. Yeah, those are cool. What was another? I got a friend up here that's doing I can't remember the bikes. They're a little flat track bike that's new. It's kind of a little kit bike that's really cool. It reminds me of that. It's that type of a deal. Man, those things are cool. They're such rad little bikes.
yeah, it's good training. It's cheap, low cost of entry, and if you fall over, you're not gonna spend a ton of money, and you're probably not gonna get hurt anyway.
Yeah. Oh, the other one I saw I liked was that they brought back that little Honda Monkey. That thing is cool, man. That'd be a great little pit bike, man. I don't know. I like it. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, so I like stuff like that. It brings me back to like the old school pre-internet, pre-pager, and all this technology stuff where you could actually just enjoy your motorcycle and tune the world out.
Yeah, I think that's why I first started riding motorcycles, is because you could just get away, no radio, no phone.
Yeah, and you're all focused, man. You never know if the world disappeared, man.
It's really like a meditation, because if you look away for too long, you might die, right? You have to stay focused in a certain point of view.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. No, it's a good thing that way. And that's the only thing at hand. You're not thinking about your girlfriend or your rent or anything. Like, you might be thinking about your bike setup or something, but that's about it. It's all about right what you're doing right then. It's all highly focused thought at that point.
And now when I was always riding, I mess with my suspension very little. This is
Yeah,
something that when I get back into racing, I'm really excited about, because I think maybe a couple rounds, maybe 5 or 6 rounds, I actually tuned my suspension. But every other round, I just set it and forget it. I didn't even turn a dial.
yeah,
So I was able to achieve a lot of podiums and a lot of wins, and
yeah,
novice and expert, with riding the bike as it was. The first time I bought my bike, it was a '09 600, the Kawasaki, and man, it was set up for like a 220-pound rider, and I'm over here 160 in leathers, and
yeah,
I didn't adjust it, but I think I did well on that bike because it was really stiff, and once you ride fast, you want it to be stiff.
yeah.
And maybe it helped me out having it set up that way.
It could be. So once you got faster, the bike was set up better. I could see that for sure. Yeah, where you didn't start out soft and always be maxing the bike out when you're trying to get better.
Right.
Yeah,
So I think there's a lot of a time for me to find in suspension travel and tuning alone, maybe even some sag. I remember there was one round I went to in Pittsburgh that I dropped, I think, a second and a half from just a couple tweaks here and there. And I was like, this is amazing. That was the first time you touched it. Like, do more, do it again.
oh, in the 80s, man, I used to race like CR250s and CR500s. I mean, I never touched hardly a clicker. I mean, there was no sag. Nobody measured sag. If you wanted better suspension, you bought Oleans, It was a whole different deal. So I'm the same way. It wasn't something that we used to do then, but I worked with a guy, this guy, Garrett Pouchet. He's got a big off-road team that does Baja now and stuff. But I met him at Milestone Motocross in Riverside, California one day. He's friends with a friend of mine, and we were racing that day, and he won the 40 plus novice by, like, that's my class. He just cleaned us out. Like, he was so much faster, it was unbelievable. And then we were shooting the shit between the races, and he was asking me about the tool, and I told him what it was. He goes, man, I've never even done that. So we got him on his bike and sat him on there. He was at 128 millimeters.
Yeah.
Like, that dirt bike, you should be about 105, So I was like, oh, no, dude, this thing, it's like a chopper. You need ape hangers on this thing, man. This thing will never turn. So we adjusted it up, and we got him at 105, and he went out. This is a 40 plus novice, right? He was 7 seconds a lap faster.
Wow.
He came in, his eyes were this big. He was like, man, it's like I got brand new tires on it. I just lay it over and it just turns now. And I'm like, yeah, because it's not like choppered out, dude. And he was blown away. He's like religious. He won't even like let me give him slackers for that team. He gets on the site and orders them.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, he'll order like 5 at a time and be all, nope, I'm paying, man. And I'm all right, because he knows the valuable tool, So yeah, it's something. It's like anything, man. When you're searching for little things, man, you got to look everywhere, man. It's in your diet, your boot, your thing, the throttle control, the traction, it's somewhere. There's you gotta scan all that stuff all the time. Make sure that you're doing your best at all of it.
Yeah.
And not leaving things out, So I think that it's a key for anybody, and even just a dude that puts around on the street, knowing that your bike's set up and balanced, or if you throw a passenger, if you go 2 up, like, you should make an adjustment. You just made your bike really dangerous. Now it's all raked out. You're going to go into a turn and expect it to turn like it normally does, and you're just going to go straight off the outside. You're going to go right off the turn.
Not only is it slower, but it's also dangerous.
It won't turn now. The front end's up. It's got less weight on it, and it's raked out like this. So you're you're just going to turn the wheel and going to keep going on the turn. So I just think that it's something even for your general dude, and to pay attention. Like for me, if I take a measurement and I say I get on my bike and I measure and I adjust it, and I'm at 106 millimeters, I step off, I always look at that static sag. Mine's usually around 38. I know that because the spring weight that I run, that's where I should end up. If that's like 45 or 32 all of a sudden, something's wrong, man. So even though my sag looked good, like if a guy had a tape measure, that's all we would have seen, right? You wouldn't take the time to then measure the static sag. Nobody would. I would never would unless it was a new bike and I needed to know what spring I needed. I would never do that, but I just step off, look at that display, and I know right then, bam, I got a problem, man. Something's wrong. I got a bunch of, probably just need to grease the linkage or the service the shock. Maybe the, you know, who knows? Something got bent, tweaked, the shims or valving in the shock are bad, or the, you know, there's a million things, but really let you know instantly, see something's changed here. Even though that root number is good, this other one's different now, so we should take a look at it. So just interacting with things like that, then you know how they should be, and you know when they're not right, and you can catch that stuff. I think that's as big as anything, you know?
Oh yeah, and the first time I ever serviced my suspension, not even like for any specific tuning, just for a basic bike setup, a baseline, it was night and day. I might have been in intermediate or novice track days. It was right when I was starting, and it was like the next thing to do before I upgraded any real parts. And that was recommended to me. Oh, go over to the suspension guy, Ken Hall, who's now the Moto America suspension guy,
Nice.
and tune it up. And it was like, oh my goodness, I wasn't running a lap timer back then, so I don't know what the time difference was, but it felt like it was many seconds difference.
Yep.
And the comfort.
You can tell right away. You can feel that stuff, man.
No,
No, that's
for anybody. For any track day rider, even if you're not racing, that's one of the first things I would do. I would always say suspension, tires, and brakes are your most important things.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if you can get some more horsepower, whatever, but generally I see people put a bunch of money into their motor and not paying any attention to the suspension. They're just making a death trap, man. You know, I mean, let's make this thing really high performance, but not address the handling of the chassis. Let's not address the chassis at all. Let's just stick a bunch of more horsepower in this thing and twist it, you know?
Yeah.
Like drag racing, that's probably a great plan, but I don't think that's a great plan, honestly, on you know, road racing, where everything's so, you got to be so precise at everything.
Well, people think like, oh, let me just throw more money at it. Maybe make me go faster.
Exactly. Or they'll just put a bunch of, you know, anodized aluminum stuff on it and think it looks cool. Like when I get a new bike, I'm an off-road dude. When I get a new bike, I will change like my shifter because I got big feet and I like a longer shifter. And then I'll probably change the bars, adjust my controls, and that's it. And then, but I don't even ride the stock suspension. I probably should get the time. I should probably wear it out and then get it built and not be like wasteful. But I don't. When I get a new bike, I just have them rip off the stuff and I get it revalved, resprung for me, for Moto. And I come out swinging with a brand new, freshly valved, ready to go for Moto suspension. I don't even screw with the stock stuff. But if I had stock suspension, I would absolutely be checking my sag and servicing it regularly. You don't even have to get any fancy valving or anything, just fresh fluids, valve shims, all that stuff, seals, and regularly, and just keep it fresh, and then keep your bike adjusted, your sag adjusted right in the realm where you like it, and you'll be golden, man. But it's something, I think that gets overlooked too, is just the servicing of the suspension. It's easy to blow it off and not notice because it gets a little worse every time. Right. But when you, like you did, and take it to the shop and go back out, you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah, it's so much different now. And even if you don't want to do it yourself or don't want to do that, there's always great suspension guys. There's one near me, yep. Joe Kraft at Witchcraft Racing, a couple miles from my house. He used to sponsor me, and I think full pop is maybe $200-300 to do it.
Yep.
So it's not that bad anyways.
Yeah, and you can pop it off and send it in if you have to. You can just send it into your dude, you know, like if it's on the other coast, great. I usually like having somebody close to me that can work with me, but I'm old and slow these days anyway. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it isn't going to make much of a difference. For me, it's not about the lap time. It's about how many laps I can get. So it's a matter of comfort. So if I'm comfortable and enjoying the bike, man, I can go all day long. If my bike setup sucks, it'll wear me out quick. I'm old and out of shape. But generally, it just wears on me. I just don't enjoy it. And it's like, I don't ride in 100 degrees or deep mud anymore. I just don't. I'm old and I don't care anymore. I don't want to. So it's about enjoying, having fun and enjoying riding my bike. And so that's it. If my bike's set up right and handling good, I'll come out of there just like, man, God, I got to ride more. That's so amazing. I feel so good right now. Otherwise I'll come out of there all pissed off and frustrated and still thinking about what I did wrong on my clickers,
Yeah. Yeah. It's always a constant journey. There's always more to learn and more laps to do, right?
Yeah. And always worth putting in that extra little effort. Even if you change it back to where you were, it's always worth going out there and looking at those things and trying to find them, I think, man. I just think it's lazy not to try to dig them up and find those things. And if you get it out and you find out it's something you didn't want, you just put it back. You don't have to keep it, But I'm always searching. I think that way, like in work, riding, anything, I'm always trying to find that other line, the other little thing, that'll get you what you're trying to get, whether it's trying to have a good day or win the race or make it $20. Like, it's all the same to me. You gotta get all those little things if you want to be the first one to get that.
Gotta get all your ducks in a row, and there's just so many ducks.
Yeah, these days it's insane. Like, it's coming from the 80s into this stuff, man. Wow, it's just a blazing inferno of information. And now, like in the 80s, you weren't even aware of some of these really industries and professions and stuff and how intense they were. But in this age, it's all out in front. You get to see it all out in front of you, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, and now there's entire positions dedicated to understanding data and traction control and fuel mapping. I never used any of those electronic assists when I rode. They weren't available on my 600.
Yep. Yeah, I haven't. My Husky has a traction control, but I don't even know if it works. It's real hard to tell in the dirt.
Yeah. So I usually post it in a week or two. So I have a couple in the queue normally, but I think I just posted my last one before I walked over here. So maybe next week I'll get this one posted, and make sure that you share it and comment and tag anybody that we talked about, so we can get as many eyeballs as possible, as always.
Yeah, I will for sure. And let me see, I can quick time record a little demo of it.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I have time, but I'll try to do it. It'll probably be this weekend if I can do it.
Sure. I can always wait until it's done. There's no rush.
All right. Yeah, I can do that pretty easy. That'd probably be nice. Then you can just splice it in there, and it's that way the frame is just the phone, and I could probably do it maybe where I can get Slacker in the shot or something. I'll have to think about it, but it's pretty easy to record it. And I think it'd be cool because that way people can see, because it's nice because you can get in and add your bike and then add setup notes, and then, save settings directly from Slacker into your setup notes while you're taking measurements and stuff now. I've added some new features. So, but we can do that later. It may be worth waiting, because I think in about 6 weeks, I'm going to release an entirely new version of that, where if it's a dirt bike, you'll have a dirt bike specific page. And if it's a street, you'll get street, because right now, no matter what bike you have, you get the same settings, So like for a mountain bike, you don't have static sag, but there's all these empty static sag things. It's goofy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to clean it up, but I'll let you know by the end of the weekend. If I just get buried, I'll just let you know I got buried and just continue on without me.
Okay, sure. Or I can always do like a follow-up quick post video.
Yep, I got you. I should be able to. I may get time today and just be able to crank it out.
Okay.
It's just one of those things that have my brain be thinking about that when I hit a moment of only mild terror and mayhem.
Hey, no worries. So is this your first podcast?
I did one with this guy, Chris. So you want to ride a bike?
Oh yeah. So you want to
Have you
ride a
met him?
motorcycle podcast?
Yeah, he's awesome. I did one with him a few months ago, and I did one with Agla with ADV Rider magazine. She's the senior writer with Adventure Rider
Yeah.
magazine. Yeah, she's a cool lady. She was in like Bulgaria or something in the middle of COVID doing a Zoom with me.
Wow.
You're number 3.
You're becoming a pro.
I guess not really. I don't know. I just stand here. I'm sure I'm ridiculous, but I just, as long as I don't watch my face on it, I'll be all right.
Yeah, you got to watch the other person. Otherwise you get fixated, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just not much. I'm just not much in being in front of cameras and stuff. So probably the reason there's only been 3 is I've resisted them for a long time. Been, oh no. Just give me a call, man.
Yeah. Well, it's just simple. I'm just trying to create some original content. You know, I ran out of pictures to post of me on a motorcycle. I posted them all.
Yeah. Well, it's good too, it's good to be able to meet you in person too, honestly, like this. There's something to be said for that instead of a voice on the phone. Like it is nice to just actually meet you in person. And I don't know why I get hung up on that stuff. I just never liked being in front of cameras. Every picture my mom has, I got a funny look on my face, or I'm flipping the camera off or something. I just not photogenic. I'm photo resistant.
Well, there's I think there's something to be said for like a long form interview, whereas like if you're on the news, if you went on the news and talked about your product, you're only going to get so many sentences out before they cut you off. But here, at least you get to be yourself, and you can only put on a fake facade for so long, right?
Yep, I agree, man. Yeah, that news stuff is just like, you got to get in and get to the point and get out, man. Whereas this gives you some time to actually go off track and talk about the boat, losing my stuff, and that leads you over to this. You know, it lets the conversation happen more naturally, and you get in the things that are actually pertinent instead of just talking about one little sliver of that, because you wouldn't have any idea of all the other stuff that's happening. You know,
Right.
so. No, it's good, and it's excellent. I'm always happy to do this stuff too. Like whenever you want to do it, if it helps you out, I'm always down to do it.
Very good. I could definitely keep you in mind. You know, I'm thinking with some of the people who I like talking to, maybe once a year.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
Yeah, I
very
don't
good.
see why not. Get updates, product updates, any of that, or just catch up on what's been happening in the industry or the world. It's been really moving fast lately, man.
So what's on your mind outside of motorsports? Anything particular you wanted to talk about?
Oh man, you know, I don't know. My mom just got her second COVID vaccine, so I'm pretty stoked on that. She's 81. I've been worried about her. And then really right now, I'm just trying to make sure that my family and friends and everybody's okay, like financially and staying healthy and stuff, and just being grateful for what I got, man. I got a lot of problems right now, but man, nothing compared to a lot of other people like that have lost their lives, jobs, livelihoods, and everything else over the last year. It's been really brutal. I mean, it was March 14th last year when we pretty much knew we were in trouble up here. And my sister had an art show that night, and we decided not to go just to be safe. And we had no idea what it was going to turn into, you know? So I guess I'm hoping for better for everybody in the world for 2021 and moving forward, and that people could just start being more respectful and take care of each other, man. We got to look out for each other. There's just a lot of bad shit happening these days. And I just think that, you know, we may have differences politically and stuff, but we're all Americans. And if we like riding motorcycles, we got way more in common than we don't. And so we need to put some of that stuff to the side and just be good to each other, be respectful, and quit hiding behind the internet and, you know, taking shots at each other like people are doing. I think we're better than that. I just think that most people are nice people, and it's just got turned into something else because of a bunch of, you know, politicians and people in the media that want to, I don't know, convince you people are something that they aren't or whatever. So I'm just wishing for better for the world and for everybody to be a little bit more cool to each other this year, please.
Now, are you still in lockdown in Oregon?
I mean, not technically. There's still restrictions up here, you know, and like I agree with some of them, but it's just been a hard thing because I agree with trying to protect the public health, but if you tell somebody to shut their business and you don't provide them a financial way to shut it down, it just can't work. You know, that if one side saying don't lock down, don't do anything, the other side saying lock it all the way down. But you gotta, if you're gonna lock down, you gotta give them the money. And if you're not gonna lock it down, you need to make sure you can protect vulnerable people like my mom. We can't just let it fly. You know, I just think that a lot of people miss the point that wearing masks and stuff was to protect other people, not themselves. Like I've never worn a mask. I haven't been that concerned about my own health, but my neighbor over here, she's like 85-year-old black lady. I'm concerned about her. So I don't want to spread it. So I just think a lot of that stuff got screwed up. We need to shake that off and realize that it sucks, whatever it is, but we need to just take care of each other, I think, you know. I know that's kind of a political thing to say, but generally, I think we're better people than that. And that, you know, my friend that I grew up with, his mom died of COVID. I mean, she spent 6 weeks on a ventilator at 83 years old. It was brutal. So there is nobody that could convince me not to worry about that stuff. So I'm just hoping people can start to, you know, realize that we're all the same, and whatever you think politically or whatever YouTube channel you watch, that those people they're people too, and they have families and stuff. And if people could just be a little more respectful, I think that's been my issue lately. It's like, just seems like it's so easy to dismiss everybody. And on the internet, people are real quick to get in and take a shot at you that would never do that in your face. You know, that's what, I mean, if you just have a conversation like this, people would be a lot less likely to, you know, have such big opinions and attack you so much. So I'm just hoping that people can be better this year. I don't know if that'll happen or not.
I think that's a good message for the world.
Yeah, I just hope people be better to each other. I just think I've seen a lot of people fighting over a lot of dumb stuff. And so, I mean, that's really all otherwise, my focus is 100% on that damn boat in Kobe, Japan, and trying to get dug out from this absolute disaster. 2020, I did good, actually. I felt really fortunate because like so many people got screwed last year, and right at the end of the deal, I went down.
Yeah.
But at least I didn't get sick or anything, and I'm still fighting, at least for another day, you know.
That's good. And where are you out there on social media? I know you're on Instagram.
Yeah, on Instagram, we're just at Motool Inc. And then same with Twitter, Motool Inc. And then Facebook is motool.co. And I'm on all those channels. Twitter is probably the least loved. I just don't, I tend to treat it as a news thing. And with one product and a small company, you don't tend to have a lot of news.
Yeah.
But I do my best. And I'm much better on the Facebook and Instagram stuff. So if anybody's out there too, has questions about bike setup or any of that, I personally respond to all those posts. And so if you had a question about the product or bike setup or any of that, just I'm the dude behind the post, so you know that if you're asking questions, it's me and not just some guy in the back of the shop.
And are you on YouTube at all?
Yeah, we've got we're just on under Motool on YouTube, Motool, and I've got I need to put some new content up, but we do have some good videos up there from Dave Moss. I've got some new footage that I did with him that I still need to produce and get up there. So some of that stuff's kind of old, but he's got a lot of good bike setup tips and stuff up there. And then just random like user guides for slacker and motocross stuff, and kind of, you can go back all the way till 2013, I think, and see all the old original, even super crappy videos.
All right, well, I'll tell everybody to check that out, and watch out for those new videos that you still have coming.
Yep, yeah, for sure. I should be, hopefully this summer I'll have time to get back into some of that creative stuff, and the fire will be out.
And I wanted to ask about, you have motool.co, not .com. How did that come about?
Oh, you know, it's funny. The guys that have that domain, it's Missouri Tool.
Okay.
So MO for Missouri and then Tool. So they got motool.com before I could get it. It kind of bummed me out, but it's not a big deal these days. There's so many different ones. But then same with Instagram, that one is even funnier. I wanted to get Motool on there, and it's Megan O'Toole.
What are the odds?
Yeah, well, damn it. But well, it is what it is. Those are little things that like bug you, but in the big picture, it's, it's just like having an odd colored nut on something on your bike that nobody else would notice.
Oh yeah, I tried to get ESR.com, but that was taken by I think some Japanese big conglomerate, so I don't think I'll be able to buy that one.
Oh yeah, no, that would probably be difficult.
I think it sounds expensive.
Yeah, it does. It probably does, but you probably get a lot of traffic right off the bat.
Yeah.
Just
So
probably not people that you'd want, but
right, yeah, get all the Japanese guys.
exactly. A bunch of guys looking for whatever product. What is this? Who the hell is Eric Swahn?
Right. I'm on the map.
Yeah, no doubt. That's good, man. No, and I'm glad to see you starting up this business, man. I see so many people just trying to, especially motocross guys that get really focused in and they don't make another plan at all. And they cut out of school early, they start racing at 6, and man, it's brutal. And when you get out of there, if you don't have some skills to do something like you're doing, it's brutal. Like to go to work for a shop at $9 an hour or $12 an hour, man.
No, thank you.
It's reality real fast right there when you just struggling to pay rent, So I think it's good, and it's a lot of work, but you seem like you're up for it.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely up for it. Let's wrap this up a little bit. Thank you so much for coming on here. And like I said, I'll get this posted real quick, and we'll go from there.
Cool. Sounds good. Awesome. Well, thanks, Eric.
All right. Thanks so much, John. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, man.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So I just wanted to give you a quick overview of our Service Assistant app. This is a useful tool just to keep track of all your bikes and all your settings for your suspension setup. So whenever you start out in the app, you're just going to, in the upper right, you can hit that add bike icon. In the main list here, you're able to filter by dirt, street, adventure, or mountain bike. So let's just pick a street bike. We're going to act like we have some money today, and we'll pick this Panigale. So we'll just, you can name it pretty much whatever you want, whatever's relevant to you. So I'll just do this. So once you save the bike, it's going to show up as the newest in the list at the top. You can just click it to select it. And then at this point, you're not going to have a lot of information. You're going to get some generic SAG settings. These are real generic. They're just based off of industry standards, not the actual manufacturer's recommendations. So always be sure to check your user manual or check with whoever tunes your suspension. So whenever you want to add a new note, just hit new note, and then say we have just taken some measurements and we want to record them, and this is where we're at. And we can put in any of our clickers, and there's actually going to be some additions to these coming here in the next release of this app. Some more info where you can put in your tire pressure and brand and track temperature and some other cool stuff. But for now, we'll just put in a couple, and we'll just say we were at Button Willow, and that'll work. And then we're going to just go ahead and add that. So then we've got our note. You can see that we get some basic settings up front, or some clickers and stuff. And if we go in, then we can go in here, we can edit the track name. We can actually copy this note to another note, say under another bike or under this bike, just so we could save these baseline settings. So that's really the whole overview. Also, if you have a slacker, there is one more function, and that is that we can actually you can actually use this as a virtual remote for your Slacker digital suspension tuner. So in the top left here, you'll see that we've got this icon with the remote. So if you go in here, this is going to bring up the virtual remote. I'm going to turn Slacker on, and then it should connect right up and start taking readings. So you can see there that the Slacker's connected and working right now. And so everything should be good right here. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to save some settings. This is kind of a cool feature, is you can actually save settings right into where I was just showing you that you could manually enter them. So if we go in and we select that new bike, there's that note, Button Willow. You can see now we've got the $12.99 panty. We're at Button Willow, and then you can see those numbers that I typed in manually at the bottom here. So if we say we're going to take some measurements and we take a static measurement up in the front and we end up at 8, all we have to do is click that button and you can see that that value updates. So now let's take a measurement on the fork itself and we'll record that. Then let's say we take another measurement in the rear and we end up at 10, and just say we end up at 30 here. So there's all the measurements that we've just taken. And when we get back out of this portion of the app and we go back in here, then you'll see that these numbers have all updated with these values with the 8 and 35 and 10 and 30. So if you do have Slacker, that's a great thing to have also, but you don't have to have Slacker for it to be a valuable tool. You can keep all your bikes in here. It's unlimited bikes, unlimited notes. You just have to put in your email and have a user account, but that's just to secure your data. We don't actually share data or information or anything else. We would only use it to contact you for app updates or things of that nature. So that's pretty much it, man. That's the Service Assistant app. I'm actually building out a new version of it that should release this summer that's going to have actually a lot more information on each of those different pages. With the recommended settings will now be specific to dirt bikes or street bikes or adventure bikes or mountain bikes. So you'll have a lot more tailored experience that's more tailored towards your type of riding and your type of bike. So if anybody has questions, guys, feel free to hit me up. You can always visit the website and just email me off of that. The website is motool.co. So it's motool.co. Or you could always email me. My email is Johnny, JOHNY, at motool.co, motool.co. And that's Johnny at motool.co. Just one N in the Johnny. So feel free to hit me up, guys, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.